disarmament, which they're not doing. Israel's nuclear arsenal is completely illegal. They shouldn't be allowed to have one at all. And Iran doesn't have a nuclear arsenal. It doesn't have any nuclear weapons. And we know from history that the way to keep it that way is diplomacy. Yeah. President Obama, when he put forward his Iran nuclear deal in 2015, that worked for 3 years. Everybody agreed. The U.S. agreed. The UN agreed. The Europeans agreed. The whole world agreed. Iran was going along with the requirements. They were in compliance until President Trump in 2018 tore it up and said, it's not a good enough agreement. If he had left that in place, we wouldn't be here right now. Mm-hmm. But he tore up the agreement, and so there was no more holds at that point. So the lesson is, going to war doesn't bring disarmament, and it doesn't bring nonproliferation. Diplomacy does. We need diplomacy.
Yep. Ultimately, though, who is the adjudicating authority to decide who in the world does, in fact, get a nuclear weapon?
That's the big question. There's nothing anywhere that says any authority has the right to say anybody gets a new weapon. The whole idea of the Non-Proliferation Treaty was to stop anyone from getting it. The problem is, enforcing that is a question of power. Mm-hmm. So when countries try and get it, they break out of the NPT process. They leave the inspectors, kick them out of their country, or hide the work that's going on. Iran had at one time a nuclear weapons program many, many years ago. It didn't get very far, but it was canceled as of 2003. South Africa, apartheid South Africa, had a nuclear weapons program. They had collaborated with Israel back in the 70s on what became the Israeli nuclear arsenal. Mm-hmm. South Africa gave it up when they brought about democracy and overcame apartheid. So there's different histories, but the bottom line is none of these outlaw countries in terms of their nuclear weapons are legal. Not North Korea, not India, not Pakistan, and certainly not Israel. But there's nobody prepared to take responsibility to deal with it. None of them are legal. Nobody has the right to say, oh, you're allowed to. Yeah. The U.S. doesn't do that. They instead go along with the Israeli desire to not acknowledge that they have a nuclear arsenal.
Yeah, nope. It is fascinating stuff, and I'll leave it there for the moment. Speaking of Israel, Phyllis's new book is called Understanding Palestine and Israel, and I laughed. Phyllis, you'll appreciate my point, I think. I laughed because I'm like, what a title. What a title. Is there a way to understand Palestine and Israel, Phyllis?
Yeah, I think there is. I think that these are issues of land more than anything else, much more than religion, more than any of the other stuff. This is about land. Whose land is it? And Israel isn't the only country in the world that was founded on the basis of a kind of settler colonialism. You had a piece of land with an indigenous population on it in the period, say, beginning around the 1890s, 1900, around that time. And all of a sudden, you started seeing more and more and more settlers coming into that territory from somewhere else. In this case, it was Europe, mainly Eastern Europe and Russia, but not only, people from other places as well. But there was very small numbers. The creation of the movement that came to be called Zionism, which was created in the 1890s, was based on the idea that there should be a separate Jewish state. And the guy who invented Zionism was very clear that this was a colonial enterprise. The reason, I think Tavis, that I grew up as a hardcore Zionist activist as a kid in Los Angeles, in your neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And what made me break with it was at a certain point when I had been reading about colonialism and studying imperialism in college, all of that, during the end of the Vietnam War, I suddenly realized I think I was wrong about this Israel stuff. And I went to my father's library to read Herzl. Theodor Herzl was the founder of modern Zionism. Mm-hmm. And in his diaries, he talks about the letters that he wrote to Cecil Rhodes, the infamous British colonialist for whom Rhodesia was called Rhodesia until it became Zimbabwe. And he wrote to Cecil Rhodes trying to get his support for getting the British monarchy to support his idea of a Jewish state in Palestine. And he writes to him saying, you may wonder, why am I writing to you? You're interested in Africa. I'm interested in this little bit of Arabia. You're concerned about Englishmen. I'm concerned about Jews. So why am I bothering you with this? And then he answers his own question, and he says, because our projects are both something colonial. And when I read that, I thought, whoa, nobody ever taught me that in Sunday school. So it was, it was coming to terms with that. But once you see it in that way, it all starts to make sense in a certain way. The U.S. is the same kind of thing. This was a settler colonial state. The difference is that Israel was created as a state in the era of decolonization. At the time when all these colonies were gaining their independence, that's when Palestine lost its. So that's what makes it a little bit different. But in other ways, it's kind of the same as the process of settler colonialism, whether it's in the U.S. or Canada or Australia, South Africa, a bunch of countries have that same history, but from 300 years ago, not from 75 years ago, where some people are still alive who were kicked off their land in 1948. So, once that's not necessary to understand everything that's going on right now. What's going on right now, like in Gaza, what we see is a deliberate attempt to commit genocide, which has a very specific definition in international law and is usually very hard to prove because it's not only you have to do certain things, certain kinds of acts of violence, but you have to do it with the specific intention of destroying a group of people, either the whole group or part of the group, in this case, the Palestinians of Gaza. Mm-hmm. And that's usually really hard to prove, It's like in criminal court, too, there's some crimes that are considered a specific intent crime, so that just breaking into a house isn't necessarily the same crime as if you break in with the intention of robbing somebody. Mm-hmm. If you break into a house because there's lightning outside and you're afraid you're going to be struck and you break into a house for safety, you might commit some misdemeanor, but it's not the same thing. Kind of like that with the Genocide Convention. You have to have a specific intent. What was different about the Israeli genocide in Gaza is that they've been bragging about it for 21 months. They've been saying that we want to kill them all, that this is not just about Hamas, that this is about everyone in Gaza, that there are no innocents there, that yes, the children must be killed because the children will grow up to be our enemy. This was the language of the Indian Wars here in the United States. There's a familiar ring to that. Nits make lice was what the general in charge of the soldiers at the Sand Creek Massacre in Colorado back in 1860 said. Kill them all. Nits make lice. And it's a horrific reality that we're dealing with. And I think that's part of the reason that so many people poured into the streets in the weeks and months after the October 7th terrible attack in Israel, when they saw what Israel was then doing in Gaza.
I was just about to...
They poured into the streets. Yeah, go ahead.
No, finish your point. They poured in the streets. Finish your point. They poured in the streets.
They poured into the streets, not necessarily knowing much about Israel or Palestine. Some did, some didn't. But they were seeing on their phones, on their screens, on their computers, on their televisions, 24/7, they were seeing this slaughter of innocents. And people said, wait, this is not okay. And when they heard that it was U.S. weapons and U.S. money that was making it possible, there was outrage. And that's what drew people into the streets. It wasn't because they necessarily understood all the ramifications of settler colonialism or whatever I was just talking about. It's because of what was happening to people. Yeah. It was a human response.
I'm reading Angela Davis, the Angela Davis, her blurb for your book, and she says, in part, Bennis's most recent book, once again, offers lucid exposition and compelling argumentation for the ever-increasing numbers of advocates for freedom and justice in Palestine. And it's not just in Palestine, it's the point you just made a moment ago, that it's happening around the world. What do you make of this particular, some might even regard it as peculiar moment, where we are seeing, in fact, as Angela says, ever-increasing numbers of advocates for freedom and justice inside Palestine?
It is an extraordinary moment that we are living through. I'm so grateful to Angela for her endorsement of the book. But it's this moment of what we're seeing around the world, where there is this rise of mobilization of people saying, we can't take this anymore. Our governments have been giving in to U.S. pressure. They've been refusing to allow Israel to be held accountable for what it's doing to the Palestinians. And we're going to get into the streets. We're going to protest. We're going to boycott. just yesterday, there was a victory for the boycott movement. The giant shipping company called Maersk, which I don't think most people in the U.S. have heard of. I really hadn't until a couple of years ago. But it's one of the biggest shipping companies, and they've been involved in shipping weapons and fuel to Israel to carry out this war. And so there's been a boycott movement against them in countries, mainly in Europe, but also in some places in Latin America and a couple of African countries. And they suddenly announced yesterday that they are withdrawing their money. They're divesting from their investments in the Israeli settlements because they recognize that it's a bad business practice, if nothing else. They don't have to accept the human rights arguments, but they're recognizing something, and they pulled out. So that's happening all around the world. And in this country, we're seeing at the same time as we're seeing this weaponization of false claims of anti-Semitism, using that as an excuse to arrest people, deport people, the rise of these ICE maniacs on the streets running around with no identification, masked men, grabbing people off the streets, throwing them into unmarked cars, and then saying, well, this is because you were supporting something that has to do with anti-Semitism. This is an outrage, but it's in the context of the rise of this movement for a ceasefire and for an end to Israeli access to U.S. weapons. That people are saying no more arms to Israel. 77% of Democrats now are saying that. That was unheard of a couple of years ago to have those kinds of numbers. So we're in an extraordinary moment where the rise of concern about Palestinian rights and indeed Palestinian lives, which are at such risk right now, the children in particular. You know, in the first week of the Israeli assault on Iran, there was appropriately a lot of concern about that. But the number of people killed between Iran and Israel together did not even meet the number of people killed in those same number of days in Gaza.
No, I take your point, and to your point, people aren't doing the math on that, but that's a whole other conversation for another time. Phyllis Bennis is director of the new Internationalism Project at the Institute for Policy Studies. Her new text just out is called Understanding Palestine and Israel, with a beautiful blurb forward from Angela Davis. Again, it's called Understanding Palestine and Israel. I highly recommend it. Phyllis, good to have you on. Thanks for your insights in this dark moment. As always, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tavis. It's been a pleasure. Let's hope for the best with the ceasefire.
Let's hope for the best from your mouth to God's ears. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. Forward.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish. Minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Iran vows retaliation after U.S. strikes on nuclear sites. Professor Jeff Adicott, who heads the Warrior Defense Project at St. Mary's University, says we need to be on guard against attacks on the homeland.
It's a very high probability that Iranians that want to do us harm have come into this country under the Biden administration's open border policy.
Experts warn Iran could target U.S. infrastructure. A new study from medical journal JAMA Network Open shows Black communities may be underusing the 988 crisis lifeline. States with large Black populations like Alabama and Florida rank lowest in usage. Experts say stigma and access gaps persist. And Atlanta seeing progress in public safety. Police Chief Darren Shearbaum says homicides are down by 1/3 and car thefts by 40%. That's good news for Black neighborhoods often hit the hardest by crime and a sign that community efforts are making a difference. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Look out in Sylmar. We've got a bad crash involving several big rigs, maybe as many as 5. On the 5, southbound past the 405, the truck lanes are closed until further notice while they clean up that mess. Meanwhile, in Anaheim, a work zone 91 eastbound between Harbor Boulevard and State College. The 2 right lanes are shut down until noon. It's stop and go back from Brookhurst. And in downtown LA, a stall on the 10 freeway eastbound before the 110. Somebody apparently ran out of gas.
Is this the tether? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Angels scored 4 runs in the 8th inning Monday night to beat Boston 9-5. The Angels are 2-2 without manager Ron Washington. Washington is taking a leave of absence to deal with a health issue. The Dodgers were off Monday. They start a 6-game road trip tonight at Colorado. TV ratings for Game 7 of the NBA Finals was the highest for a finals game in 6 years. Oklahoma City's win over Indiana drew an average of 16.5 million viewers on ABC and ESPN. A very special ceremony is taking place today outside the Mobile Convention Center in Mobile, Alabama. City officials are unveiling the Hall of Fame Walk, 6 statues of Hall of Fame athletes who grew up in Mobile. The list includes Baseball Hall of Famers Hank Aaron, Satchel Paige, Ozzie Smith, Willie McCovey, and Billy Williams, and NFL Hall of Fame linebacker Robert Brazile, who played at Jackson State. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
It's more of Aretha Franklin. We have chosen her as our artist of the day as we continue our celebration of June. as Black Music Month, and so she is our featured artist today. So all 3 hours of our program, weaving in and out of these conversations, we are playing some of the best of the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. We thank Phyllis Bennis for that conversation. Now, as promised, a dialogue with Emmy-nominated actor O-T Fagbenle about his roles on both Presumed Innocent and The Handmaid's Tale. O-T, you're a busy brother. Glad you had time to talk to us for a few minutes. How are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored. Thanks for asking. I'm really happy to be here.
No, it's good to have you on the program. I suspect I want to start with The Handmaid's Tale. Let me play some sound from that first, and we'll jump straight away into our conversation.
This isn't even about us. This is about you and what you want.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I wouldn't even be here if I didn't have to come rescue you.
Oh, yeah? Then go back to Alaska. The truth of it is, you want to go in. You want to fight. But I built this plan from the ground up. Okay? I'm going to deliver my bombs to the locations I picked. This is my chance to fight for Hannah.
I was reading a piece last night, O.T., in preparation for our conversation today, where you suggested that The Handmaid's Tale, your role in it, literally changed your life. Can you unpack that for the audience?
Oh, I guess it changed my life in so many different ways. I mean, first of all, you know, as an artist, you dream of working with people that inspire you, people that are better than you, geniuses of the game. And because it ups your game, it allows you to expand as an artist. And The Handmaid's Tale is one of those rare opportunities where I got to work with not just some of the best in the industry ever, but also on a piece of work which has political and social and, you know, ethical ramifications and meaning. And so, you know, that's just one of the many ways that it kind of changed me and helped me grow.
Yeah, tell me more about, I think every one of us can relate to this. Tell me more about what the takeaways are for you or were for you, being able to work alongside the best. I mean, it's like playing alongside Jordan or any number of other persons I could name, but there is something that one takes from having the opportunity to work along, to struggle alongside the best. What were those takeaways for you?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And it's one of the things I say sometimes that Elizabeth Moss, who's the lead of The Handmaid's Tale, I say, you know, she's a Jordan, and I'm very happy to be a Pippin alongside her. And it's just about, you know, I think sometimes when someone sets a pace, you know, like in racing, someone, you know, the lead person, you keep up with that. You know that, oh, okay, that's the level. And it kind of challenges you every time not to drop the ball, because you know you're going to get exposed if you drop the ball. That, and, you know, I'm a writer, a director as well. And so I was given the opportunity to shadow the executive producers. I got the opportunity to shadow the directors, to go into the editing room, to spend time with the writer's room. And so in terms of like the breadth of my artistry, I got to really kind of sit down and have an apprenticeship in these rooms, which are really special.
Yeah, I love that word artistry, and I'm not so sure that we use that word in the ways that we should these days. But I mean, certainly you are an artist, but that word artistry just jumps out at me. When you use that word, unpack your meaning of it and why that word resonates with you, your artistry.
Well, one way of thinking about it is, you know, when I graduated drama school as a young man, I had no dreams or hopes of being a TV star or getting nominated for an Emmy. I just wanted to act, and I wanted to act in theater. And I had kind of resigned myself to the idea that I may be a poor person for the rest of my life because I'm an artist. And artists can have no expectation of riches, but there is a different type of riches, no financial riches, but there is a different type of richness that can be attained and given as an artist. And so I think for me, it's kind of bound up with a type of service, a type of giving to the community, and also growth within oneself through art. Art is an exploration of intelligence and of creativity and spirituality and emotion and psychology and society. And so I think if one is dedicated to that, I think that's what makes one an artist. You know, of course, nowadays celebrity is a big thing, and that seems to have kind of taken place of the hierarchy between an artist and a celebrity. But for me, an artist is someone who has those kind of inclinations.
Since you went there, let me follow you. Does celebrity these days, to your point, does celebrity trump artistry these days?
Well, it depends on your value system. If one values power and money and influence, then celebrity will trump artistry often. But if one values, I don't know, the quality and a real exploration on what it means to be a human, what it means to be in society with others, then artistry will always trump.
Yeah. What is the backstory to your acting? You talked about graduating drama school. Give me the backstory to your becoming a thespian.
Well, I started off as a young musician. I played saxophone from the age of 11 to 17, 18. I was in youth bands playing, big band jazz. And my father's best friend was an African theatre practitioner. And we're in London right now. And he would do youth programs. And he invited me to take part as a musician. And pretty soon he gave me small roles. And very soon it turned out I had an aptitude for acting. So he gave me bigger and bigger roles. And so all my initial start in the theatre was African theatre. We were talking in pidgin English. We were doing plays that were focused on talking to the Black community, to the African community, the Caribbean community, and in England. And so it was real grassroots stuff. And there, you're not just an actor, but you're a musician, and you might help out with the sets, and you might carry the costumes. And we played old people's homes and young people's places. And that was kind of the grassroots of what being an artist and being connected to the community was for me. Then I went to quite a prestigious drama school where we studied Shakespeare basically exclusively for 3 years. And that gave me a really strong foundation in the different schools, Stanislavski, some of the different schools of acting. And then I became a theater actor for many years before I did any television.
I've asked this question of others, but I'm always fascinated by, because you ask 20 people this question, you get 20 different answers. I'm always fascinated by those who have Shakespeare as a foundation. So let me ask you, what does it mean for you? What has it meant for you to have Shakespeare as your foundation?
There are many great writers from, Wole Soyinka, one of our greatest African playwrights, Chinua Achebe, so there are great writers from every tradition. Shakespeare happens to be the greatest, I think, from the Western tradition. And his language is so complex and his characters so deep that if you manage to really tackle and be able to handle that text, you can almost tackle any other text because it basically just gets simpler from there, apart from, the other greats. And so for me, tackling Shakespeare, which also comes with the complication of this thing called the iambic pentameter, half of Shakespeare's writing is in prose, half of it is in verse. The verse is written in a rhythm, da-dap, 10 beats within a line. And each of those beats has its own meaning. So there's a whole mathematical and rhythmical texture on top of the text, on top of character. And so it's very complicated, but it means that other things become much more simple.
When we come forward, we're going to play some sound from his star turn on Presumed Innocent. We started this conversation with some sound from his role on The Handmaid's Tale, but we'll play some Presumed Innocent sound, if I can say it, when we come forward. And now, speaking of reading and preparing for this conversation last night, I read an article that I found sort of interesting and funny. The title of it is funny. It's called In Defense of O-T Fagbenle's Wacky Voice. In defense of his wacky voice. So we'll talk about that as well when we come forward. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in.
But we're okay with that.
You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with O-T Fagbenle, amazing actor, starring on Presumed Innocent and The Handmaid's Tale. We are in Emmy nomination season, and so I'm delighted to have him on this program. So we talked about Handmaid's Tale. Here's some sound now from O-T's turn on Presumed Innocent.
What a wonderful night. But look, let's remember, friends, only the beginning. I would also like to thank my wonderful friend and noble adversary, Raymond Horgan. No. He has served this city so faithfully for so long, but wonderful.
For so long, but so
my dear friend Raymond, my heart and love go out to him. So Raymond Horgan, thank you, please. Yeah, but look, that's the past, and we're here for the future.
O-T, talking about your role on on Presumed Innocent.
Well, Presumed Innocent, it was an extraordinary drama. I'm very, proud that we were the #1 drama ever on Apple TV in terms of viewership. And, it was really because we were anchored by these extraordinary performances by Jake Gyllenhaal and Ruth Negga and a host of other brilliant cast members and this really tight script. And so I was really, grateful that I got to play this, supporting role in it.
Yeah. When it comes to the choices that you make these days, again, we played some Handmaid's Tale stuff, we played some Presumed Innocent stuff. How do you go about making your choices these days?
It's funny because you had that article in defense of The Voice, and the more you hear that character, the more you realize just how kind of I guess strange or unusual his speaking pattern is. Yeah. When it comes to how choices are made, going back to artistry, I feel like what makes an artist is a connection to intuition. And where does intuition come from? Is it the gods or the subconscious or, the spirit? What is it that creates inspiration? And I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know how to create it. I don't know how to recreate it. All I know is that I have a set of tools which help me try and get out of the way and access that thing that comes from another place. And so I don't have an intellectual answer to where inspiration comes from, apart from to say that it is the thing that makes an artist, and it's the thing I try to listen to and be brave, because sometimes the intuition sounds crazy. And like for this voice I created for the character, there was a big part of me that goes, just be normal. So don't go and stretch out there. And so you just kind of, as an artist, try and be brave and go, I'm just going to follow it and see where it goes.
We've been talking about an artist and his artistry. I have often used the term to describe certain guests as citizen artists, because their work is not disconnected from the world that we live in. In our remaining moments with O-T Fagbenle, we'll talk about the politics of his projects and where he sees us, all of us, at this particular moment in world history. We'll do that in our remaining moments with him on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and O-T Fagbenle, star of Presumed Innocent and The Handmaid's Tale. Delighted to have him on this program for a few more minutes here, 3 to be exact. I said earlier, O-T, that I have often, you can't say this about everybody, I think it's true of you. I wouldn't call every guest I have who is in the business a citizen artist, but I wondered if you might, in your own way, sort of unpack the politics of some of your projects and sort of where you see us globally in this moment as Homo sapiens.
There are so many topics to talk about, and my previous work can speak to some of that. But my next project that I'm working on is focused on AI. And, because we only got a couple of minutes, I think that's what I'd love to talk about, which is, we are in a transformative time. And I think that we'll find over the next few years, before AI replaces humans who use AI are going to replace humans that don't. And I think particularly for, typically disadvantaged communities, communities that have been denied access, there is a rare opportunity for them to leverage AI to upskill themselves and to kind of like catapult themselves into the future. And it's scary. I'm scared of AI and its repercussions. But at the same time, I really do think there's an opportunity for us in our community who can figure out how to take the advantages of whatever it is, a tax advisor or a relationship advisor or a business planner. You can use AI to take whatever things you have in your life that you want to 10x, and there's just a rare opportunity for us to get ahead. So, that's one of the main things I'm thinking about at the moment.
Yep. How do you see your role? And you don't have to see it this way. I'm just asking if you do. How do you see your role as an artist in these times? And I'll frame it that way.
It's hard because on one side there is a temptation to kind of like want to talk about everything. Ultimately, I'm best served by talking about the specific things that I think are affecting me. Yeah. And because of the universality of the human experience, trust that will connect with lots of people around the world, and it will come most authentically that way. And so my role is to try and be as authentic and honest as possible. And that is not always easy, either as a person or as an artist. But to the extent to which I can be brave and take the leaps and the swings, I think, that's really what makes an artist.
Well, I have been honored to have had you on this program for these 30 minutes to talk about Presumed Innocent, to talk about The Handmaid's Tale. As I mentioned, it's Emmy nomination season, so who knows what is to come. But I am grateful for this conversation and deeply appreciate your work, O-T. Good to have you on this program, my friend.
I'm very blessed to have this conversation with you. Take care.
Take care of yourself. Thank you for your time. When we come forward, we'll spend our third and final hour today in conversation with professor in the School of Public Policy at the University of Maryland and author Dr. Neon B. Carter. Because of the way the world is moving these days, the majority of this program today has been talking about international issues. No surprise there, given this ceasefire that's holding for the moment between Iran and Israel. But I haven't had a chance today to get to any domestic issues on the docket. So we'll do that in our third and final hour today with Dr. Neon B. Carter when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Iran vows retaliation after U.S. strikes on nuclear sites. Professor Jeff Adicott, who heads the Warrior Defense Project at St. Mary's University, says we need to be on guard against attacks on the homeland.
It's a very high probability that Iranians that want to do us harm have come into this country under the Biden administration's open border policy.
Experts warn Iran could target U.S. infrastructure. A new study from medical journal JAMA Network Open shows Black communities may be underusing the 988 Crisis Lifeline. States with large Black populations like Alabama and Florida rank lowest in usage. Experts say stigma and access gaps persist. And Atlanta is seeing progress in public safety. Police Chief Darren Shearbaum says homicides are down by a third.